Philippines, good evening. Dahil magkarabi, masanto siya sa labit si kay amin. Maya pa bengi kay ka. Maraming nabanggi sa inyong gabos. Maupay nga gabi ha iyong tanan. Mayat-bayad nga gabi. Siyempre, apilon na nato. Mayang gabi sa Tibok Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ito po ang inyong programang Republika. Ako si Erik Espina. Dito po sa ating programa ngayong gabi, ang atong tukion, bahin ni sa atong gitawag og Philippine Accessible Disability Services. Atong tan-awon unsay lunot ani kung ikumpara nato sa issue sa Paralympics o sa kalibutan sa mga disabled. Apilon po nato nga kanay atong guest karon na he knows about our winning the 2017 and 2018 if I'm not mistaken Dragon Boat in Hong Kong, defeating the champions in the past 8 or 9 years. So we're very fortunate to have, he's a registered nurse, and his advocacy is precisely PADS, shorter version of Philippine Accessible Disability Services. John Paul JP Manawas. May gabi, bye.
May gabi, sir. And thank you so much for inviting me here.
Yes. Firstly lang, no, pangutala lang nako nimo kay kaning kalibutan sa mga PWDs. How would you rate Cebu City per se in terms of being PWD friendly, being PWD accessible, and overall rating nimo from 1 to 10?
Well, I think naatas sa mga mga 7.
Passing, you mean to say, Cebu City?
Yeah, passing. Because I think Cebu City is one of the cities in the Philippines that has an ordinance on barrier-free tourism. And at the same time, Cebu City has pioneered as well the Cebu City Anti-Discrimination Ordinance. Will penalize people who discriminate people with disabilities, senior citizens, and even LGBTQ members in the community. And then nearly 10 years ago, Cebu City was one of those cities who created an accessibility audit committee.
Okay.
They worked with the Office of the Mayor and the Office of the Building Official, wherein natay accessibility auditor. One of them is our current president, si Dr. Bong Honorable, Ms. Adela Cono. And what they do is before the blueprint of building is presented to them. And if they look into it, if it's accessible or it's friendly,
PWD friendly.
PWD friendly,
Oo.
meaning it uses the principle of the universal design.
Okay.
So they look into the sizes of the door, or the ramps,
How about the elevation? Is that very critical in terms of elevation? Is elevation as far as access to buildings and to street level pedestrians critical?
Yes, very critical, sir. It should be integrated in every building. Like for example, we just don't want to put up a ramp wherein
For the sake of having a ramp. Yes.
Or it should be that that's what we call independent living, wherein a wheelchair user can actually access that ramp without anyone helping him or her. So
What would be, just for our education, so we can be tutored, what would be a comfortable elevation?
Yeah, it depends on the angle of the ramp.
What would be the angle? What would be comfortable for PWD?
I think it should be less than 45 degrees.
Less than 45.
Mga 20 so that all the gravity, the force of gravity would pull the person using wheelchair back. And then at the same time, most of the time is that it should be wide enough for a wheelchair user to safely maneuver. So most of the times, people don't really consider or they would usually inculcate ramps to wheelchairs, but it's for all. Like it's easy for a pregnant women to
Very good point.
pass through
Senior
ramp.
citizens.
Or even someone pulling or pushing a huge object,
Cargo.
Yeah. So that's I think it's for all. Even our PWD friendly toilets, no, they would say they would exclusively allocate it for people with disability, but actually it's not. It should
Dapat
be for
nata
all.
mga PWD.
Yes,
na-
the new buildings now they have installed already, especially in the new airport. Yeah, they have applied universal design, and that's through the efforts also of Miss Adela Cuno, who's been really working hard to make sure that buildings and even training the student architects and even the architects about the principle of the universal design. And
You're talking about new buildings. How about the old buildings? I mean, when you make an audit, accessible audit, you have old buildings and new buildings. Have the old buildings actually, in terms of their design, adapted to the requirements of the law?
Unfortunately, I think it's quite challenging for old buildings to install accessibility, but there's what we call reasonable accommodation, wherein they don't really have to destroy a portion of that building just to accommodate, but they just have to set up mechanisms. Like for example, if they have a client who's using a wheelchair, then they just have to bring someone to the ground floor to accommodate that person. They don't have to bring the entire person up. Or they can build, they can construct their own ramps. But that's the most challenging part. Like in the US, what they do is they install lifts.
Yes.
But here, since it will be very expensive for a landowner, there are mechanisms that are in place for that.
Does the committee on that audits the accessibility for PWDs, they're part of the approval process of business permits,
Before,
construction building? Not anymore
Not
today.
anymore now. Not
Shouldn't
anymore
they be
today.
part of the entire process?
Yeah, it should be. It should be, sir. But I thought it was disbanded before. But I hopefully now with the current administration now in Cebu City, I think they should be.
They should be part of
They should
it.
be part of
In
it.
fact, perhaps maybe in every barangay, they should.
That's true,
This
sir.
kind of a committee should be at up to the level of the barangay, because I think that's where it should start.
Yes, that should be the way, and I think in every we have laws in place already.
Yes, precisely.
Yeah, we have laws in place
Oo.
already. The BP 344.
Yes.
But there are moves already that it needs to be amended. Our advocates have been working overtime to make amendments, and to get champions inside the Congress and the Senate, and hopefully the President will be able to
Yes.
approve that one, because it's an obsolete law already.
JP, give us some possible suggestions and amendments which BP 344 should undergo.
Like for example, the size, the technical requirements for accessible toilets.
Okay.
Or for
They
example,
have to be larger, bigger.
yeah, you have to be bigger, or the whole bars should be different.
Shouldn't the toilet seat even be raised?
It should be aligned to the wheelchairs, or for example, a wheelchair user doesn't need to have a personal assistant to help assist her, meaning they can maneuver independently inside the toilet. Or
I have senior parents, and usually when I build a bathroom for them, I raise up the toilet seat by almost about 5 to 6 inches. So although they are senior citizens, but it is friendly to the knees.
yes, there are
So-
grab bars also, sir, that are
Necessary.
necessary, like the L bar. I think Miss Adela Cuno has been very active in this advocacy in spreading awareness about the universal design, and I think that she's very successful in terms of educating colleges of architecture, or even working with major stakeholders now in
Aside from CRs, what else?
the sizes of the ramps, the vehicles that are the public transport as well. It is in Cebu.
The public transport is
yeah.
failing in this.
Yes, like jeepneys are not.
There should be, I think, PWD vehicles dedicated to PW vehicles.
Yes, that should be it, sir.
Yeah.
Or hopefully our new public transport system, like the MRT or the BRT, should be ready for people with disabilities.
In fact, jeepneys should we should be LTO or the LTFRB should look at the entrance of jeepneys. They should be transferred already on the right side of the pedestrian and not at the back, which is more dangerous, no?
That's true, sir.
But they are not doing it, no?
They're not doing it. But I think in Cebu City, I think a short trivia for everyone. I think in Cebu City, it started that movement wherein we put the LTO puts stickers to the front seat of jeepneys. That every time there's a person with disability, that will the driver should, or the passenger sitting in front should vacate the front seat and allocate it to a person with disability.
How about tricycles? Is there such a thing as a PWD friendly tricycle, or it's still in the drawing boards?
Yeah, there was a model I saw a few years ago that they develop a tricycle that like a person who won't unload na sa yung wheelchair, but automatically they had a makeshift ramp for a person on wheelchair to just easily get inside the trike. But it was just a model, you know, and we hope that, you know, LGUs or even operators will be able to produce that one.
I hope that PWD committees in barangays will really be established in order to be able to help the auditing committee.
Yes, sir.
You know, they have to look at pedestrian.
Yes.
Pedestrian lane, the embankments, whether they are accessible,
Yeah.
how many public bathrooms. In fact, I don't know whether if we can ask a public official, say, how many public bathrooms are there in Cebu City? Would he be able to answer such a question?
Yeah, I don't think so.
An
sir.
inventory, I think, should be required, no?
Yes, it should be. Even the Department of Tourism, they have their own accessibility audit as
So
well.
you will not amend a grade of 7 for the city. You will stick to 7, or
Yeah.
it will go down.
It will go down actually.
so 7 is not the
But there are already initiatives by the city, like the ordinances, but we still need to see how.
What you're saying is, in the terms of initiative, we can give them a 7.
Yes.
But in the actual physical approval
Yes.
and construction of PWD-friendly and accessible lanes, they're failing.
Yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
I think every city is failing.
Every city is failing.
Yeah, and we've been to this advocacy for the last 10 years, and well, half of my life we've been with people with disabilities, no? And you know, before when I was a student, I always hear initiatives from Cebu City, and one of these is that accessibility audit committee, and you know they're on the top spot. You know, but now I think it's going down every.
I've been, I think it's no secret, when I was running for councilor in the city, I was talking about PWD councilors, which is part of RA 7160 of the Local Government Code. And this has to be effected and actualized into Congress in order that every city or every municipality should have a PWD councilor elected, no? But that could be the main focus of the PWD sector and then you have to consider how many voters who are PWDs, no?
That's true. You know, we had this initiative in 2013. We partnered with the Asia Foundation and the Australian government in organizing a project called the Fully Abled Nation. It's a project that we work with federations of persons with disabilities and stakeholders to increase participation of people with disabilities during the elections. So it's about developing an inclusive election for the
Are
Philippine
the
midterm.
PWDs organized in Cebu?
Yeah,
Cebu
they're
City?
quite organized now. Each city or even Cebu City, they have federations.
Based on political lines? Or they have their own advocacy, they're united, and they are a swing vote? Or are they divided according to barangays and according to political alliances?
No, currently every barangay they have their own PWD federation, and then we have the citywide federation, in which I think they just voted the new president now, which is Sir Noli Dayanan of Barangay Guadalupe, and I think it's a that's what well, personally I can say it's a fresh breath of air already for the leadership inside the PWD federation, and I think the mayor now he also have appointed a person to lead the People with Disability Affairs Office, of Cebu City, and I think they're still I think they're still on their infancy stage. They're trying to build up the.
I like your term infancy because I hope they finally graduate into maturity, no? After all these years.
Yeah, but well, as a part of the stakeholder or as advocates, I think it's our duty as well to help empower the PW leaders and
Yes.
help them,
Especially those who support it.
yeah, and make them involved in governance and in leadership, particularly inside the city.
Okay, JP, we're going to pause for a few reminders and then pagbalik na to, ato na gyud tutukan ning unsa na gyud ning kanibang adaptive sports, rehabilitative sports, tanawon po nato unsa ning Paralympics and then unsa ning PADS.
Okay, sir.
Pagbabalik po ng ating programang Republika. You're back with us, Republika. Nagbabalik po tayo programang Republika. Maugya po niya atong programang Republika. Kahinabi nato si John Paul JP Maunes, yes. Ganiha JP, no? I was asking you, is part of the problem because the PWDs are not exactly united in that sense, so therefore they are a broken force and subject to the raiding of the politics depending on the alliances?
In a way, sir. I think.
Nga man di man sila makahiusa.
Well, I think it all boils down to leadership as well. No, I think each sector in the disability, in the disability sector, there are different disabilities as well.
Okay.
We have the blind sector. We have those with
Deaf and dumb.
the deaf, and then we have the wheelchair users.
Okay.
And there are a lot. There's a lot. We even have the psychosocial disabilities and everything.
And they cannot be united?
I think there should be an initiative for them to, sit down and then unite their efforts together.
Is a senior citizen who has failing eyes considered a person with disability?
I think yes, sir. Right now, one thing that will, like, the doctors would assume that you have disability if, for example, if one of your senses has disrupted your activities of daily living. Like, for example, if you're very dependent on your eyeglasses and if you take that away and you can't see clear, I think that's one form of disability.
Okay. So at least that's very clear.
Yeah.
So John Paul, you how did you get into becoming a strong advocate for PWDs and in particular putting up the Philippine Accessible Disability Services?
Well, I've been asked about this how many times already, but it was just recent that I was able to really realize
that your calling is?
Yeah, your calling is into the work, into the inclusion advocacy. I didn't realize that, well, I was born to a person with disability.
What was the disability of your mother?
My mom was, when she was in her residency,
Okay.
she was a doctor by profession, and she met an accident. She was inside a bus, and then the bus got hit another bus, and well, it almost broke her. It broke her two legs.
Both legs.
Had multiple fractures to the point that she has to be
So man, comminuted ang fracture?
That's right. Almost, she said na, I can still remember when she told me that if di pa ko doctor, I think the surgeon would have amputated my leg.
Okay.
When the doctor realized that I was a doctor and it would be hard for me to work without my legs, then they were able to save my leg. No, but she undergoes
both legs.
Both legs. But that's why I grew up. I can say na, well, when you're in school, your parents cannot participate in activities like family days.
Yes.
You're always in the sidelines because you have a mother who has limited mobility.
Is she on wheelchair? No, she's not.
No, she's not. Sir,
she uses crutches.
She uses a cane.
Okay.
She even uses her own umbrella as her cane.
Okay.
And then we live in a common house. I live with my grandmother and my uncle as well. My uncle has mental illness. So I grew up surrounded by people with disabilities, and it's really hard. For example, if you walk beside your parents or your friends in the neighborhood would tease you, or would make fun of your uncle, or they would make fun of your mother walking.
How many siblings are you all in all?
We are three, sir.
3. So but you're the one who is focused on this kind of an advocacy.
Yes, sir. Okay. So I'm the...
And that's part of the reason you became a nurse, or did you want to become a doctor?
I really wanted to become a doctor.
Yes, exactly. Okay.
I really wanted to become a doctor because I grew up inside the clinic of my mom, and seeing her serve the community, because she's a rural health unit doctor in the I think she served the Cebu City Health Department for more than 3 decades already.
What's the how was this born, the PADS, and what does this got to do with Paralympics? I mean, is there any difference? They're all sports related.
Yeah, well, we established PADS in 2005. No, we got our own. We were able to legalize PADS in 2005, and we got it registered under the Securities and Exchange Commission. We started as a volunteering program, wherein our main focus was to provide interpreters or to promote Filipino Sign Language, and that was every Sunday when we assist a group of deaf people during the Holy Mass. So we provide interpreters or organize summer camps every...
And that's gone now, no?
We're still continuing.
What are there churches that have this
yes,
for
sir.
disabilities?
I think there are congregations now and volunteering groups as well in different cities that provides sign language interpreters every Mass.
Okay.
And in one of the highlight of that of our advocacy was we were able to pioneer the Filipino Sign Language news interpreting in one of the TV stations here.
One of the major TV stations.
Yes, sir.
Only one, not the two.
Only one, sir.
The other one did not want.
Every Disability Week.
Okay.
Every Disability Week celebration, we have the two major stations provide sign language interpreters. But we were able to forge a partnership with one TV network here. And we were able to provide interpreters.
It was experimental, or how long did that run?
It ran for almost 2 years.
And then they stopped it?
Yes, because the funding stopped already as well. And
when you mean funding, you mean to say the daily allowance for the interpreters?
For the interpreters, sir, because it was funded by the Australian government.
I see.
The Full Labeled Nation project as well. So we were able to pilot it in not only in Cebu but in Baguio.
Was it effective?
Davao.
I mean, if you make an overall assessment, was it an effective program?
Yeah, it was super effective because
what was the feedback of the PWDs? And
well, the deaf community were the first people who benefited from that project because for the first time they were able to hear and participate about the news. They were able to hear what's happening around, or particularly events of national interest. So
you're talking about the deaf people
yes,
can
sir.
At least read it, no?
Yes, sir. And then there's a clamor already to recognize Filipino Sign Language because Philippines was during that time was one of the few countries who don't have a law that recognizes Filipino Sign Language.
Is there a difference between local Philippine Sign Language as against foreign sign languages, or you're talking about just one international language for everybody?
Yes, every country they have different sign languages.
Peculiar.
Yes, as a matter of fact,
so a Filipino cannot talk to an American Sign Language.
In a way, they can't understand each other. In a way that they have different structures in sign languages. But in terms of American Philippine, I think they have there's an influence in the American Sign Language because in the early 1900s, I think Peace Corps volunteers came to the Philippines and teach sign language as well. But
is there an international sign language wherein I'm a Filipino, there is a dialect Filipino sign language, and again there is an international sign language in order that all PWDs all over the world can talk to each other?
Well, I've never been to international conventions wherein there's the participation of the people, but I've heard and read that they have international sign languages, and
which everybody can learn and can talk to each other.
Yes, sir, and each deaf representative, they bring their own interpreters as well.
Okay.
And I think the medium of communication is English, so it will be easier for them as well to...
When you talk about local language, who decides what a particular gesture in the hand would mean something?
I think it's the deaf people because it's their natural language.
You're talking about usage.
Yes, sir.
There is no institute for sign language that tells you that this particular movement should be adopted for everybody so that all Filipinos can understand each other.
I think there's what we call sign language linguistics as well.
Yes.
And each sign language or a particular deaf community in the particular city or region, they have natural sign languages or
So
dialects.
you're talking now of dialects.
Yes, sir.
In a sense, I'm
It's so
trying to make it
beautiful.
understandable. So it's a dialect which other PWDs cannot understand.
Yeah.
If a Tagalog does sign language, can he talk to a Cebuano sign
I think
language?
they can, but there are words that a Cebuano deaf person might not understand.
Okay. And the government has not undertaken any effort in order to come up with some kind of a national language for the Filipinos, which could probably be a first in the whole world, no? If somebody does that, no? It only gives the importance of what PWD should be given, no?
I think last year, October of 2019, 2018, President Rodrigo Duterte signed the law, no, the Filipino Sign Language Act, recognizing Filipino Sign Language as the natural or the national language of the Filipino deaf, and the official language in all government transactions involving deaf people. So it mandates like Department of Education or government offices. So if there's a deaf person there, they should provide sign language interpreters. Or for example, if there are cases in the court that involves a deaf person, the court should provide sign language interpreters.
Is there a national language institute for the PWDs?
There is the Philippine Federation of the Deaf. They are the ones handling the research now of sign language. But it was
for the purpose of making it a national language.
Yes.
It is not anymore per region, per dialect.
That's part of it, sir.
Okay.
There's the Filipino Sign Language, and then there's the
So finally,
regional sign languages, or even the dialects, or even mga lingos. No?
oh, that's very good. I'm very
It's
happy for that.
beautiful. I think when I learned it, sign language is, I think, one of the most beautiful languages I've learned. No, particularly when you talk to a deaf person, it's different when they were able to express themselves in their natural languages as well. No?
So how do you differentiate between PADS and Paralympics? Or they're both?
Well, PADS is it's a non-profit.
Yes.
Non-profit organization. We created it just to achieve that vision of a Filipino inclusive society. And one of our programs is on adaptive sports and rehabilitation.
When you mean adaptive sports, what does adaptive sports mean?
Well, it's totally different from Paralympics. Well, Paralympics they have set classifications for each athlete with disability. Like for example, T4. You're set as T4.
What is a T4?
For example, amputee.
Okay.
And then you can only compete with an athlete with the same classification. T4 classification. And there are doctors that are trained, like in the person of Dr. Buong Adorable, that can make classification for each athlete so that they can compete on an equal level playing field.
Okay. In PADS, how is this?
Well, PADS, we are currently promoting adaptive sports. Adaptive sports, it's totally different from Paralympics. It's the sport that makes the modifications so that every athlete who has special needs can participate and compete with athletes on any given.
For example?
Say for example, sir, well, in the sport of
Dragon boat. Yes, Dragon boat, yes.
So in the team, we have deaf paddlers, we have blind paddlers, amputees, and polio survivors. So for a deaf person to hear the commands, we train the drummer or the coach to do the sign language, or we ask the deaf paddlers, okay, what's the sign for this command, and they would create the sign, and then we'll have the entire team to understand the command, so that, for example, during the race, when the drummer gives the command in sign language, the deaf paddlers can actually understand. Or for example, we have special seating in the boat that will give out the full potential of our athlete with disability. And then we work with strength and conditioning coaches para ma-develop ang specific muscle na weak that ma-compensate sila sa training.
So, you talked about the Dragon boat. Are there other sports that PADS is into?
Yeah, we recently organized the sitting volleyball program. We worked together with U.S. Sports Envoy and USA volleyball coach Eric Hudson. He came here in the Philippines a few weeks ago, and inaugurated the sitting volleyball program. Sitting volleyball, it's
Same number of people?
same number of people, but there are just modifications like a smaller court. Like the court for sitting volleyball is 10 by 6.
Okay.
10 by 6 feet, and then the height of the net is lowered to
lower.
3 feet.
How low? How low?
1.3 meters.
Okay.
Only. And all the players, regardless if you have disability or not, you will play volleyball sitting. There's a major rule there. When the coach would sign like this, it's butt lift, meaning if you lift your butt, then that's a violation already for sitting volleyball. So
Okay.
everyone can play. No, in the program, we don't discriminate everyone. Even if you have disability,
Even if you're
or
able, you can join.
you can join.
But you cannot lift your butt. That's what they're saying.
Yes, sir. And it's basically,
The rules are the same, the number of points, etc.
yes, number was the same. There are modifications, like for example, during service, the opposing team can block the serve because the court is smaller. No?
Okay.
And it helps fasten the transition or the point system, and they are allowed to cross the line in the net. And
Okay.
like the regular
you
volleyball,
cannot-
you cannot. No?
Uh-huh.
There's a net line. No? So, but that's one modification. That's one modification in adaptive sports or in sitting volleyball, or even in wheelchair sports.
How about chess? Are there anybody in chess? No.
In chess, there is, sir. I think I think the Paralympic team, the chess Paralympic team in Philippines, won several medals already in the last Para Games.
Okay, we're going to pause for a few reminders, and when we come back, we'll look at what the Dragon Boats championship in the world has done for us when we return. Okay, you're back with us. We're still talking to JP Maunes. He's a nurse and he's one of the founders of Philippine Accessible Disability Services. We're talking about adaptive sports. There is also rehabilitative sports. Any difference?
Yeah, actually, they're quite related. No? For example, we have one of our athletes, Kent Tumangan. He's 19 years old. So he lost his leg because he was diagnosed of sarcoma, and his leg needs to be amputated. No, and then he was a student at that time.
Okay.
So when he approached us that he wanted to avail to our program, he undergo first rehabilitation, meaning to say we have to be worked out. Meaning the PTs and doctors would look into
Effect
him.
on the psychology of the
And
person.
The psychological part. We're working first on the psychological part of the person. So that's why we introduced the recreational rehabilitation. While at the same time that
Recreational to enjoy it.
yeah, recreational first to enjoy it, and yeah, he gets the opportunity to meet other athletes or persons with disabilities. The same niya, and then see sometimes good when you lose your leg, they would dissociate themselves, no? And then they would say they would develop depression, or there's a lot of things that would run into their head. But when the program, it gives them the opportunity to meet people or provide mentorship.
Are there PWDs that commit suicide?
There's a lot, sir. There's a lot. No?
Daghan.
Actually, majority of our athletes, no, particularly those who were not born disabled.
Yes.
Okay. There was once in their life that they tried suicide because of the idea that I'm not the regular kid anymore. And then
But everybody goes to depression. Would that be a fair statement that an abled person that becomes PWD undergoes depression?
I cannot say that everyone goes to that because everyone has different coping mechanisms.
Coping mechanisms, yes.
But there's what we call DABDA, no? The process of depression, and then
cycle. It's a cycle. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3,
Yes,
and then
sir.
finally acceptance.
And then because I think that developed because a person just cannot identify support systems surrounding him. So that's the program we bring for in PADS. We bring in the support systems and the professionals, and even opportunities for him, like when he started after his rehabilitation program. he wants to become an athlete, or he wants to pursue a really a sporting career, like he wants to really get into like dragon boat. So we develop a program for him na, okay, from a weekend training, now you'll undergo 4 times a week training, serious training, and then like 2-3 weeks before the actual race, we'll be going. You'll undergo an daily training, twice a day training, or then so that's when we started to develop the person to become athletes. But after the race, we cannot just say, okay, forever you'll be an athlete. So we talk to them again, and we ask them, okay, what do you want?
What do you want to do
Outside the sport?
Yes.
Some would say, sir, I want to study again. Some would say, I want to find employment. And some, those who have families, would say, sir, I think I've been trying to apply for a job, but it's difficult for me. I would want to explore the possibility of starting my own business. So we developed that one for them. But we recognize as well the gaps, like the soft skills and the life skills. So in between the training, we provide, in between that phase, we provide like trainings like communication, empowerment sessions, just to equip our athletes or our members na ma-address tong certain gaps in his.
How does this become part of diplomacy and
it's
sports diplomacy?
It's a platform wherein people can there's always physical engagement, even if they don't really talk about issues surrounding them, it naturally comes out.
In the world stage, you're talking about PWDs talking to each other.
Well, they when we race in, like, for example, when we race in Thailand, Thailand or in Hong Kong, there will be athletes coming from different countries with disabilities as well, and that's when they meet and they talk to each other about.
And what would their discussions be like?
Well, number one, the training programs.
The differences they compare.
They compare. At the same time, well, there's a disparity between.
There's a learning process. And the disparity is us.
Disparities.
Us.
Here, like, for example, these guys from other countries, they have complete prosthetics.
Yes.
We have high-tech prosthetics, and
our prosthetics are not yet up to par with many of them.
Well, one thing is that we don't have prosthetics.
That's even worse.
That's even worse. Our athletes, we still have to fundraise for their prosthetics because majority cannot afford. Well, if you compare it to like an American athlete, automatic naman siya pension or na siya
ang mga design sa abroad mas maayo kaysa sa ato pa.
Well, majority of the prosthetics or the mga PISA comes from other
abroad.
Countries, comes from abroad. Nalang tayo mga technician diri that are really good also.
They can do it.
They can do it. But like for example, si Arnold, Arnold Balais, he's our team captain, but he also worked as a prosthetic and orthotic technician. He makes the prosthetics, like almost 90% siguro of the prosthetics here are done by him. So,
and you have to consider also the difference in physiques in terms of Western physique and Asian physique, no?
Yes, sir.
Oh, diba?
So I think at least they have the exchange, I think they have the exchange in terms of ideas or their situation in different countries. And
is this part of human rights?
Yes, it's actually the reason why we set up these programs because of the human rights model that we're trying to emphasize in our advocacy. Because over the years since we worked with people with disabilities, I think access to sports and participation and recreational services have been absent.
Access to rehabilitative also is very important, no?
As a matter of fact, in my own opinion, some may not agree, but I think in the DOH program, like there are pillars of health, and one of them is community-based rehabilitation. I think it's one program wherein murag na look over ba wala kay matagag kuan.
Siguro ma-appeal na siya angay sa mga barangay health workers, no? That should be part of the process,
That should be it, no? Or even
the
cities,
matrix.
They should provide their own rehabilitation centers. Currently, there's a confusion. When we talk about rehabilitation, people will always associate it with drug abuse or substance abuse. But wala malimtan nila ang rehabilitation in terms of the PWDs or disabilities.
Yes.
Or for example, there's stigma attached to rehabilitation, wherein, for example, a person who just had amputation, undergo siya rehab, but they will not continue. No, that's the reason why.
Why would that happen?
Stigma as well. Stigma na that's like they have this process. Katong ganyan na to na
Yeah.
depressive
The
process.
cycle,
no,
yes.
cycle, and there is focus lang kayo sa physical aspect, not on the psychosocial. I think they have to also provide psychological counseling or even lay out, like in the hospital, they should have like they should lay out the options for a person who just had amputation. So, but kana wala man good. So they would be left alone to struggle and look for themselves or research. Katong ginahan mo research. So majority.
That's why PADS is very important.
Yes, that's why we're very visible in social media, and we really take opportunities like interviews and everything, and or even mga public engagement really to talk about the work that we do, because you know, I think it's now is the best time for us to really scale up, no, and strengthen the community-based rehabilitation program in the Philippines, because number one, there's an increase in disability from motor vehicle accidents, medical condition. No?
So you're saying
Cancer.
the statistics are going up?
It's going up, sir, and the current yung war or yung war in Mindanao and other places, like our soldiers, no? There's an increase in disability.
And
So,
sports is one way of really,
Yeah.
attending to the psychosocial problems, no?
that's true. It's one way of breaking that negativity attached to disability. You know that there's still life after disability.
Yes.
And if they want to pursue a career in sports, there is. If they want to integrate again in the society, sports could be a powerful vehicle for that.
Si Apolinario Mabini ang inyong murag model?
Well, he was one of our models. Good guy. He was the sublime paralytic, no? But
Very bright.
very bright. He's a very intelligent person, and he ran the entire Katipunan. So I think that's the model that we have to always think, no, when you are a person with disability.
You've been part of this effort with giving honor and should I say glory for in terms of sports sa dragon boat races. We won in 2017 and then 2018. Katong sa 2017, we beat a country which lorded it over for the 9 years.
Yes, in Hong Kong, Hong Kong dragon boat is very huge. And they have this competition called the International Para-Dragon Championship. It's one division wherein they bring in athletes or dragon boat, paddlers, and then those with disabilities.
So it's a combination or mostly all just PWDs?
Combinations, sir.
Okay.
Half
60-40 mga nana?
yes.
Okay.
But, and then the federation, the Philippine Dragon Boat Federation, when they found out about our initiative, when we started the Dragon Boat program, they invited us, if it's possible, to compete in Hong Kong.
Okay. But this group has been training here in Cebu.
Yeah, we started it in 2016, 3 years already.
Di mo mag-training basta anong kuan.
There is a concert. There is a Mactan channel, no?
Okay.
Before we started at the Cebu Yacht Club every Sunday, and then now we moved to the Mandawi side of the Marcelo Fernan Bridge. Now
Okay.
we park po diya. That's where we dock the dragon boats, and in Mactan channel good, very calm ang water.
Unsa kadaghan usually ng participants sa boat?
If you talk about the standard boat, we have 22 athletes in one
22.
boat.
Okay. And then ang usa nga murag nagkuan, murag
There's one drummer,
Oo.
and then one steersman, and then 20 paddlers. And then with short boat, 10 paddlers, one drummer, one steersman.
How did you beat Hong Kong who lorded it over for 9 years in 2017?
Well, training. I think they've asked us, what's your secret, knowing that you have a lot of PWDs in you, no, in the team. I think training is the training and yung ganing determination of each paddler to win. I think that's the secret weapon of this team. And
So napil din natong Hong Kong.
we're able to defeat
9 years sila. Champion?
Oh, yes, sir. And then even here, no, we race against non-disabled teams here.
Okay. And mapildi?
Yeah, ngayon ko makadaog yun me. Because I think, for example, regular teams they train twice a week or thrice a week. But our team, we train like, I think it has become a lifestyle of every paddler to train and wake up as early as 3 a.m. para lang maka-train, and there over time we've developed a pool of strength and conditioning coaches, PTs, and doctors na would look into their conditioning.
Is boat design also crucial?
I think, yeah.
Or
yes,
standard?
It's standard, sir. But people didn't know that dragon boat or paddling, it's seated sport. And people with disabilities have been dominating seated sports for the longest time.
And then the paddle is also standard.
It's
That's
standard.
part of the regulation.
Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, before we race in Thailand during the World Championship,
Okay.
now we have to purchase the IDBF standard paddles, carbon fiber paddles.
When was this kato sa Thailand?
That was last August 20 to 25.
How was that? How did we turn out with that?
Well, that was the first time that the International Dragon Boat Federation opened the Para Dragon division.
Okay.
And then we were one of the few countries who we were able to set the world record there and won 4 gold medals during that.
Okay, klaro lang nato na. You set the world record there.
Yes, we set the world record as the first Para Dragon champion.
And then you had how many medals?
We have 4 gold medals.
Kana may mo klaro dungog nga tao ba. Importante na. Pero kaning unsay ngawang kaning sa 2019 daog na punta sa Hong Kong na pod. 2018 daog ta.
Yeah, 2017, 2018.
Okay.
But 2019 race was cancelled. But we're hoping that next year we can come back again.
Na-cancel ang 2019 kay tungod sa gobot sa Hong Kong.
Yes, sir.
Klaro lang na.
Unfortunately. But we're hoping to come back next year.
Why is it always in Hong Kong? Why can't we host it? Why can't, is there...
Well, they have... Well, Hong Kong has been like one of the capital countries who have been hosting Dragon Boat, and I think Dragon Boat it's a sport originated in China, no? And the Dragon Boat races are really prestigious, no? And
Gastuan yun nila, in short.
Gastuan yun, sir. Gabigid ka, prestigious. Imagine 10 Dragon Boats racing every heat. Dako kayo na race is participated by countries like 30 countries.
30 countries.
5,000 paddlers in one.
What's the prices, ani?
Actually, in Hong Kong, kuan lang yun. Prestige lang. Wala like cash prize. They give you this very beautiful trophy. Now, which you can be proud of as well, no?
Which is now in Philippine hands, which is now in a Cebuano hand. That's what
yes,
you're saying.
For the last 2 years.
Okay.
But PADS has also initiated some Dragon Boat races. The last one was last May. We were able to organize the first Cebu City Dragon Boat Regatta. And it was
there were several participants?
Yes, there were 24 participating teams.
Entries, yes.
Local lang first, but majority from Manila and other places.
Nakabangga sa ninyo, nakasangka sa ninyo katong mga taga Manila nga namo po sila dragon boat po dito sa
Yes.
Manila Bay Dapita.
Yes, there are most of the elite teams are from Manila, particularly the uniformed personnel
Yes.
from the Army, Navy, Air Force. They're the strongest. They're the monsters of dragon boat racing, and our athletes they really idolizes them. And there were races instances like in Iloilo or here in Cebu wherein they race, and our athletes has the opportunity to race with them, and I think that's a chance na they can race with their idols. And then when we were in Thailand, we were part of one team, the Philippine team, and that's one thing that they will never forget, no, ang kaning opportunity to be with the titans of dragon boat racing. And so far the diplomacy among the teams has been very good, no. The dragon boat teams have been very united, particularly with the PDBF Federation, and we are racing again with them this coming November 17 in San Carlos City, Negros. There's
Occidental.
No? There's an invitational there, and then we'll be racing this December 1 in Manila.
Is there really a difference in technique? Is it technique, timing, training, strength training? What is it? Or is part of the secret because we have PWDs?
I think the advantage of people with disabilities in dragon boat is really puso. Good. I think the heart, no. They've been in pain. Yung ka in pain in a sense that naanad na sila sakit ba.
Oo.
And dragon boat racing is an endurance sport. So for them, it's,
How far is it usually? Para lang sa mga kabalo. Usually.
there are
Distance.
different distances na 200, 300, 500 meters. The one in the World Championships in Thailand, they have the 2,000 meters and the 1,000 meters. So we race in the 200 and 500 meters.
If somebody, if we have a PW there or family with a PWD and they want to bring their children to join the Dragon or your group pads, how do they get in touch with you?
Well, they just have to visit us in Facebook. They just search PADS or PADS Dragon Boat or PADS Adaptive Dragon Boat Racing, or visit our website at www.pads.org.ph. So we'll reply right away, and or they can bring themselves at the Fahara Park in Mandawi, just under the Marcelo Fernand Bridge, the Mandawi side.
Mandawi side.
So every Saturday or Sunday, 6 a.m.
And they can look for you.
I look for you or anyone from any paddler from PADS. They will see. They have uniforms there, and they will always see the dragon boats there in that area.
Okay. Thank you very much. Pasalamatan nato si John Paul JP Maunes. That's the entire hour for us in terms of the Philippine Accessible Disabilities Services. Next week we'll have another topic, maybe politics, maybe water. We'll see. We'll keep you guessing. Wala na po tayong panahon. Ito po si Erik Espina, palaging nagsasabi, magmasid, makialam, higit sa lahat ay manindigan. Dahil wala pong magmamahal sa Pilipino kung hindi ang Pilipino. Daghang salamat ngayong gabi kaninyong tanan.
Thank you.